Sunrise over Lake Dal in Kashmir, nestled in the lap of the majestic Himalayas. The lake lies next to the city of Srinagar, summer capital of the Indian-occupied states of Jammu and Kashmir. Lake Dal is a labyrinth of waterways where crops are cultivated on floating pieces of land. Entire families live on boats, clinging stubbornly to their ancient culture. But the harmony of this scene belies the fact that Kashmir is at smouldering war, 2/3 occupied by India, 1/3 by Pakistan. Both sides commit atrocities, both create refugees, both have nuclear weapons. The city of Srinagar has become a military camp. 500,000 Indian soldiers have been stationed here since the Kashmiris reached for the guns nearly 10 years ago. The predominantly Muslim population want independence, and they want the Indian troops out. The British colonial rulers used to call this the Happy Valley. Now it's become a valley of fear. Fear of the Indian soldiers, fear of the rebels. The military are at every street corner. The Kashmiris are no longer masters in their own home. In early days, these streets were swarming with tourists. Today, it's hard to even get here, and the army is in control. The Indian government wants to keep this part of the country hidden away from the glare of the international media and human rights organizations. Kashmiris themselves are divided. Some want to belong to Pakistan, the rest to have total independence. But India is seen as the major aggressor in the region. Those who go out onto the streets to demonstrate have courage. Marching to protest for a referendum often ends in violent incidents. The Kashmiris were promised a referendum in 1947, but it has never taken place. The state of emergency in Kashmir allows the Indians to arrest any Kashmiri. The Indian army, their special troops, and the police aren't timid. Those arrested say they're tortured during interrogations. Many don't survive. Amnesty International has been trying to get into Kashmir for years, but the Indian government won't let them. Even the disabled, like Abdul Rahim Khani, are tortured by the Indians. For days he was held in detention before being released. They came at midnight and searched the house. They took all the money I had, 20,000 rupees. I was shoved into a car. For 4 days I was interrogated. I got electric shocks in the ears. They didn't let me go to the toilet. And they kept asking me about an engineer called Jaman. I don't know any engineer called Jaman. Then the Indians threatened to hack off his remaining leg. The women tell us what happened that night. We don't want any tyrants that kill our sons and torture our husbands, they say. When they come, the whole area is cordoned off. We don't want the Indians here. We want our independence. The 65-year-old Abdul has lived through a lot. His son belongs to a rebel group. Because of this, he's often interrogated and tortured. His nephew was tortured while he was in detention and died as a result. He was just 20 years old. Almost every family has a story of atrocities committed by the Indians. The climax of the conflict came 3 years ago. A 15th century mosque in the village of Shar al-Sharif was occupied by troops from the Pakistani part of Kashmir, along with Afghanis. Indian troops stormed the mosque. Fires were lit. The rebels were killed. The Indians say the rebels were to blame. but Kashmiris say the Indian soldiers provoked them. For many, the mosque today has become a symbol of resistance. Sheikh Nuruddin founded the strain of Islam practiced here, called KASHMIR. Nuruddin is part of the people's cultural identity, their demand for self-determination. Yasin Malik, in white, is leader of the JKLA, the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front. In the spirit of Sheikh Nuruddin, they're fighting for total independence from both India and Pakistan. Yasin Malik was Kashmir's first guerrilla leader. His JKLA is the most prominent liberation movement. He spent 5.5 years in prison. Torture, hunger strikes, and a heart operation have weakened him. In 1994, he laid down his gun in an attempt to find a political solution.
From last 2.5 years, government of India has started an operation through their brute forces, namely kill them, crush them till they die. So whosoever will be, whosoever they find he is a sympathizer of this movement or who is a well-wisher, they kill them in a ruthless manner. Or they blast their houses, or they will gang rape their sisters and mothers. This is the situation here. It is the will of the people that almost they are alive.
The army does have to use force. In countering insurgency, force has to be used. Once we get information that a particular person has got links with a militant, or a person is a militant with certain weapons, the army per force has to use the force. Unfortunately, what happens is the local agents of the people who are controlling this militancy, they use these grounds to raise the bogey of human rights. The moment we get after a person, they say, oh, he was an innocent person. We work only on hard intelligence. We do not go around torturing any common person.
But the harder the army clamps down, the greater the resistance of the people. In the local newspapers are photographs of Ghulam Mohiuddin Raghou. He was tortured. 3 days later, Indians threw him on his own doorstep. His arms and feet were hacked off.
And he was inside. Here he was sitting. And
we were all here together, says his widow. They came late in the evening and were disguised.
And they came.
He was a judge, not a militant. He cried out 3 times, God help me.
Nothing, sir. No way back. I will beg for child. Because I am a mother. What can I do? I always pray to God. God, please give me also death, my child, and also me. How can I struggle with my children? We don't have anything. We don't have any. We don't have any source that will pay our fees. Who will treat us? They are not treating us equally, sir. My father was innocent. He was killed innocently.
People are only wanting freedom. That's their birthright. Kashmir has been accessed to India unnecessarily by a treachery. But again, people are coming. They came peacefully. They demonstrated peacefully. Come on, give us our freedom. This is our birthright. But they were showered with blood. Their houses were burned. Their women were raped. And every day they are facing this horrible situation. This is a problem which is for the last 50 years. But they are very weak politicians sitting in Delhi and in Pakistan who are just taking them for a ride. Kashmir is what peace. They want complete to have their own way. They will live peacefully.
In 1995, 6 tourists were kidnapped by the Muslim group Harkat-ul Ansar. The rebels were supplied with money and weapons from Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Afterwards, sympathy for the rebels shrank. Britain Keith Mangan, German Dirk Hassert, Britain Paul Wells,